Hi everyone, I'm PommyinOZ. You'll see me on YouTube and on the much famous Blue Abroad. This is the Centre Bounce, and enjoy the show.
Hey Pommy, thanks for coming on the channel.
My pleasure, mate.
Yeah, I know this has kind of been teed up for a while. We've talked off camera and on social media and stuff, but it's great to have you on.
It's great to finally be here. I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah. Just starting off, can you introduce yourself for the people that maybe haven't seen your content before?
Well, I'm PommyinOZ, probably the only Pom that talks AFL. Go deep dive into analytics. I'm a stat-based guy, love my numbers, love the junior football as well, do a lot of that, and obviously a manic Blues fan. So it's a very blue biased show, and most people know me from Blue Abroad with the Adonis that is Terry. So I'm the ugly one on Blue Abroad.
Don't say that. So you do some Blue Abroad stuff, but you also have your own channel as well. That's something you've been building up for a while.
Yeah, we've been going a year and a bit. We've just clocked over 2K subscribers.
Nice.
It's road to 3K by the end of my grand final. That's the plan. So we totter, we do stats, we do other teams as well as Carlton, and we do heavily focus on the junior development and what's coming up in next year's draft. So if you're a rubbish team, it's good to watch.
Hey, I know about rubbish teams at the moment. So yeah. And you're also dabbling into some Supercoach. How's kind of your team and your year going?
Yeah, it's going well. So I'm a big fantasy guy. I run my own fantasy league, but I've got into a bit of Supercoach this year a bit more. Yeah, it started off really well, I'll be honest. Few injuries. We are top 50%, so we're doing all right. I think we're third in the Carlton cheer squad league of social media people, but I think my season rank's about 12,500, which isn't great.
No, I mean, I'm basically there at the moment as well. A lot of people, I think there was a big difference between kind of who you picked as your ruckman at the start of the year, and that's kind of spoken about where you are right at the moment. Who did you start in the rucks?
Well, I had a feeling that Brodie Grundy was shot. So I started with the legend that is Maxi Gorn, which I think if you don't have Maxi Gorn in your Supercoach, you're not playing Supercoach. And I trusted Riley O'Brien. I thought he was going to have a big year, which has been good and then sometimes bad. Yeah,
no, definitely. He's a bit of a sketch pick at the moment. You'd be about the only person that I know that's actually got him.
Oh, well, I mean, I was hot on him at the start of the year. I did my one to watch series, and Riley O'Brien, I made the bold call, was going to break that top two.
Yep.
And I was like, it was between him and Darcy, but I said him and Darcy, one of them will be the second best ruckman in the league. And I think I chose the wrong one.
Yeah. Well, even Darcy's been injured a lot at the moment. So I think it's basically Gorn and then Witts as number 2. And then Bruce is slowly coming into that position as number 3.
Yeah, it's been a bad year, though, because I've been captain Cripps a few times. I did it round 1 and it paid off. I captained him the game that he played 12 minutes, which backfired. So a few risks. I like to take a risk in my fantasy, which doesn't quite work in Supercoach.
And you kept him through the injury, right?
I did, though, yes. I did keep him. I benched him for that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, just letting everyone know that we've got you on today to speak about a Carlton boy who in a couple of weeks is going to be on the bubble that we should all be considering, and that is Jack Carroll. So obviously you've done a lot of pre-season, you do a lot of junior development stuff. Is he someone that you've kind of looked at in the past?
He was. The reports at Carlton were pre-season this year. He was one of Voss's favourites, and he was imminent to make a debut round 1. And the pre-season form looked really good. He had a bit of a knock, though, before round 1, and that kind of curtailed his chances of round 1. And I think Carlton fans kind of forgot about him. We kind of, because we beat Richmond, and suddenly, if you didn't play in that game, we didn't care about you. But his form this year has been impressive. His junior career is kind of his VFL form. Not quite an inside midfielder, not quite an outside midfielder. His junior career was sensational at East Fremantle Colts. He was an inside midfielder that had outside numbers. And then when he played outside, there were inside numbers. It was kind of a confusing thing.
Yep.
But he's really found his role at Carlton, playing about 50% on the wing, 50% on the ball. Beautiful left foot. That 15-meter jump on both legs as well was a highlight in junior career in his combine, and you're seeing the high marks. And that's a big staple of his game. We know Nick Cox is the new prototype wingman, as the media tell us. Even though Carroll's not tall, his leap stands him out. So a very, very good footballer.
Yeah. So was he picked up? He was picked up this year in the draft or previous years?
It was last year. He was one of the underages. So I remember when we picked him up at the time, we picked him up in the 40s. It was a big shock that he slid so much. Everyone was put off because he was a young kid. The lower side, he could have nominated for this draft. And I remember saying at the time, looking at his development, knowing what was coming the year before, Horn Francis, Dacos, I said, my opinion, if he stays in the system, he's a top 5 pick. And I think the scope for development of this guy is amazing. He is the closest I've seen to a Jackson McRae in the AFL. His ability to find space, his confidence, even though he's lightweight, he's got that bravery. So someone that I'm not surprised he had his debut that he did.
So just speaking about him at Carlton this year, obviously I think he's named on the wing for this week's game. Is that a position that he kind of plays, or where does he normally play for you guys?
Yeah, so it's been, like I say, about half and half. He's been, I think it's about 63% wing time with on the ball time in the VFL. As a junior, that's kind of mirrors up. He started off as a halfback, went to the wing last year, played on the ball. And I think that's what it is. And I think looking at Vossi's system, he likes these wingers, his name's Setterfield there, to give that on-ball time as well, that pinch hitting. And we saw against you guys, there was a massive rotation all of a sudden. So I think that's where Carroll will start on the wing. I say, look at Jack McRae's first year. It's going to be like that. A lot of wing time. When the opportunity presents, though, they will throw him in them stoppage clearances and try and get them centre bounce clearances when the game gets tight.
Yeah. Well, it's good then he's not one of those like small forwards that sometimes gets put in the wing, gets rotated through there. I guess something that a lot of people are worried about from Supercoach wise is his job security. How's he valued? Will he stay in the side? So you've got Hewitt and a couple of other players out over the last couple of weeks. Is Carroll coming in to fill those players, or is he going to be in when those players come back?
I think his job security, I would say, would be very high to lock. I think with the wing position at Carlton is probably the biggest one that's up for grabs. If I was a young player, that's where I'd earmark. I think O'Brien has now cemented one. Vossi has got rid of his wingman very quickly. I think if Carroll stays in the side and he has a good game this week, I would say lock him in for 90% of the games for the rest of the year, because I think that is an area that Voss wants some reliability. Coming from Port, coming from Brisbane, they weren't massive changes to his wide positions. They're integral to Voss ball. So I think Carroll suits what Vossi wants from his wings. Okay.
So let's say a guy like Hewitt or a couple of the others come out. Who leaves the team and Carroll stays in? Who's getting replaced by Hewitt coming into the side?
I'd say Noons would probably be operation number one, would probably be the guy that he's holding as a placeholder for Carlton's wings. He's been okay this year, but I would say that when push comes to shove, once Williams is fit, Hewitt's there. We know Doc floats on the wing. We know that one of them wing positions, he plays it very similar to Melbourne. O'Brien, 90% on the wing, and then someone else about 60, 70 floating. I'd imagine that Carroll keeps the spot for his ability to play all around the ground and allow Doc to push up when needed. So I would say Noons would be the guy that will be sacrificed before Carroll.
And would Carroll be still on field to start, or generally on the bench and then rotates on?
I think what he played against North Melbourne, which was around the 80% mark, I'd imagine that will be his game time for the rest of the year. He's got an elite engine. It's something he's worked hard on. And as you will attest, he was very, 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 very hard running all game. That is a staple of his game. So I think he'll play a lot of minutes for Carlton. I really do.
Kicks goals too.
Kangaroos defence overwhelmed. Martin with the handball. The desperate chains again. Squeezing the can, nibble out. Carroll! Oh, what a start!
He does, yeah. He's a sneak. Yeah. He's a sneaky. He gets his goal assists as well. He had the 8 score involvements as well. He likes it. Voss plays modern day football, left footer on the right hand side as well, which really does play in to our key forwards as well, because that means the ball is always swinging into the lead as a left footer naturally hits that left to right. So it's a big thing for him, and I think Jack Carroll's got a ready-made position at Carlton.
I guess so. We're coming up to round 8, I think, at the moment, and he debuted in round 7. What was stopping him from playing earlier in the year? Why did he debut in round 7?
He picked up an injury at the start of the year, so he missed a few games for there, and it only took him 2 VFL games to get into the seniors, really. So there was a big thing, though, at Carlton. Like I say, pre-season, this was a kid that was talked about by Hansen, by Voss, by O'Keefe, as some guy that was on the precipice of round 1 selection and had really stood out since coming back from pre-season training. So he's someone that's probably long overdue. I would have said if he didn't get that injury, he'd probably be 7 games in now. I think he would have started round 1. Voss was very bullish on Jack Carroll.
That was basically just a case of, well, you've been injured, let's get some match fitness into you, and then you're going to play seniors.
Yeah, he had a bit of a niggle, but he stood out as soon as he got into the VFL. He looked to cut above the rest. And as you saw in his debut, he didn't look out of place. He's got the fight. He's got all the criteria of a modern day winger. And kind of plays that James Jordan role for Carlton, and James Jordan is hot property at the minute.
So, just speaking about his output at the moment. So, round 1 versus a weaker North team, he had 15 kicks, 4 handballs for 19 disposals. Obviously, got a goal and had a couple of goal assists. Is that kind of the output that you're expecting from him, or was that just versus a weaker team? This is kind of what's happened.
Well, I mean, I'd say looking at his numbers this year, and then you look at what he does as a junior, he's always averaged around that 17 touch mark. So I can't see a world where he goes below that. I think that when at the end of the season, I would expect him to average a minimum of 18 touches. I think the 8 marks was probably lucky. Carlton did set the record in the 3rd quarter this year for uncontested possession. So obviously, that's not going to happen every week. However, what Jack Carroll does do is he naturally finds space. And like we say, pulled the highest jump off each foot at the combine. So he has a huge vertical leap. He's a very athletic boy. But I would say that'll probably go down to about 4 marks on average, 3.8 marks. I think the tackle numbers were increased, though. You didn't really attack that side, but he is a contested player. He loves the fight. So I think what he loses in marks, he'll gain in the points for tackles. And I do expect to see him get a bit forward, a bit more once Zach Williams is there. Gives him that ability to overlap and play off someone else. So
yeah,
I think he will average around that 90 for Supercoach. He got 95, I think, from memory.
95. Yeah,
I'd say he would be a 90s type player.
I guess the final question is, as a Carlton fan and also a Supercoach are looking to do really well this year, would you pick Jack Carroll at 123k?
Oh, 100%, because I mean that price, it's your Stevens mark, isn't it? Your Dylan Stevens is around there. Jack Carroll, I would say, job security over Stevens is tenfold.
Yep.
So I think he will be a guy that will increase in value because he's playing in a position at Carlton where we've tried Setterfield there and we're always trying someone there. Mm-hmm. This is his native position. This is his bread and butter. Outside, inside, a well-balanced midfielder who learned off halfback. So he's suited to the wing work. It's ready-made at Carlton Football Club.
Amazing. Well, thanks for coming on the show today. Just before you head off, do you mind telling people kind of what you've got going on? And you got anything exciting or anything coming up in the next week or so that they can catch up?
Yeah, we've got the reviews of the AFL games. We do the VFL wrap as well, where we go and look at the guys in the State League, which if you are a mid-season draft buff and you're looking at who coming in, you may see someone there because predominantly the VFL gets picked up in there. And if you're a Carlton fan or a hater, check me out on Blue Abroad when Carlton play, because I do host the watch along. So you're welcome to come and heckle and bully me. I'm pretty thick-skinned.
Well, thanks for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it and hope you have a great rest of the week.
Cheers, mate. You too. Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.